and that is, did I just fix Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? I want to say thanks to JamesMCD Reviews for giving me this one. And he even said it was topical because the new movie Dial of Destiny had just come out. I did a full review on that. You can go check it out. It's on our YouTube channel. But yeah, I want to get into it a little bit. I want to talk about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, exactly what was wrong with it, and how I think it could be fixed. Now, I'm not a hater on this movie like most people are. It pales in comparison to the original three. It is not as good as Dial of Destiny, but it is a part of the canon and it is important. And I do think that it furthers Indy in such a good way. What are the things that we really like about it? A, we do get Indy back. B, Marion is back. They're in love again. We love that. It is missing our formidable villains of the Nazis. It is missing it's a big tone change from the original. We got a lot of religious aspects to it, in the artifacts that we were looking for and the mysticism that comes from that. I don't necessarily think that the sci-fi angle of an interdimensional alien is a terrible idea, but it just wasn't conveyed properly. And I don't think we needed it. I'm so glad in the new one they kind of brought it back around to something that is more in line with the archaeology, not just to have that science fiction element to it. There is a science fiction element to Dial of Destiny, and there's science fiction element to a lot of things in Indiana Jones. But I liked, where they kind of went with it. The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was just one of those ones that just missed the mark a little too much. And for one, if we're going to fix it, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Shia LaBeouf was not the right choice to play his son. How they portrayed that character of Mutt is not the right choice of how they should have portrayed his son. It seems there was no influence on him in that instance. So it's what I mean by that is, okay, so Mutt, who is played by Shia LaBeouf, first of all, I would have cast somebody different. The reason I say that is because there was no real chemistry between Harrison Ford and Shia LaBeouf. It never really worked. And even when he's with Marion, there's better chemistry, between he and Karen Allen, but not great amount of chemistry. It didn't feel that connection with everyone. He seems like he was always on the outside. So I would 100% start with recasting. I think if you recast that role, with somebody who had chemistry and felt like he's Indy's son in some, and it looks like he could be Indy's son. He didn't even look like he could be a mix of both of them. It just didn't work. Now you take Mutt. Now I think the problem with Mutt here is that you made him a greaser and you played this whole motorcycle aspect because you're trying to push he's an adventurer. He's somebody who's willing to take risks. I don't think he should have been somebody that takes risks. Indy has always been this one that takes risks. Marion hid Mutt from Indy for years. She was never planning on telling him. Mutt thought his father died in the war. And he was raised by Ox, who is a very stiff guy, very anti-Indiana Jones. We should have made Mutt that. Somebody who doesn't know their potential, doesn't know who his father is, lives life almost too protected. So now when it comes time that his surrogate father and his mother are gone, they're kidnapped, we need a character who goes to search for Indiana Jones, and he brings out that adventurous side. You can still keep him as a fencer. You can still keep him as different things, but adding that element of the greaser who talks back and it's just kind of mean, like I would have had a more stoic character who is more stiff upper lip, that Indy's kind of like, all right, kid, come on. Like, it's just this, just that. Not worldly, he lives in a book sort of thing. Like I would have preferred that aspect of it and have him kind of talk back to Indy in the sense that like he's not the adventurous type and he thinks that Indiana Jones is reckless. But as we kind of come along, we can see them connect through that and become father son. So once Indy, and then you flip the script. Like the whole time he's like, hey kid, you don't always have to go to school, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't sound like Indy. He's a professor in college. Are you kidding me? And yeah, like I get what they were trying to do there, but flip the script with, okay, he is this educated child. And then when they get there and he finds out that it's his son, now he becomes overprotective. Now he's like, this is my son. I have to do everything. Like he was trying to protect him, but he's trying to break him out of his shell. Now he's trying to protect him at all costs. Now this kid's out of his shell, ready to take up the adventure like his dad, and is eager to do it. And it just becomes, that could have become a fun little comedy aspect to it, and added a lot of heart and warmth. The same way that we see Indy and his father interact. His father, like, and that's where I would almost make it, is make Mutt, I probably wouldn't have called him Mutt, but make Mutt like Indy's father, who is more book oriented, doesn't go on the adventures, just does his thing, does a lot of studying. And so he has to deal with it. It's like yin and yang of it, where Indy's kind of stuck in the middle of like, this kid's just like my father, but he's my son. So like now that you could have played that up, I think that would have added a big thing. That's not the only fix though. The problem is you made the villains the Russians, which at the time perfectly worked in the 50s, the Red Scare, everything that's going on. And I would have still kept it. Kate Blanchett was a great character, and she played that character really wonderfully, but you made them sympathetic. Now, I don't mind a sympathetic villain, but Indiana Jones has always been, you do not feel sympathy for any of the villains. They're Nazis. Who cares? You want to see them punch them. You want to see them take them out. You should have been treating the Russians the same way. Now, I understand at the time they came out 15 years ago, we may have been in a better position or didn't want to piss off Russia, but I don't care. Because at the time, they were the villain. At the time, there was a superpower that was trying to take us over and scare us. You make them the villain, and you make Indiana Jones go after him. They were so light on him that it was just more punches and kicks and gags and stuff, that it wasn't what Dial Destiny brought back, or any of the original movies, where it was like, Indy he doesn't care. He hates these villains and he will take them out, and he does not care. He knows they are evil. You need to play that up. Even if you say this faction of the Russian USSR government, whatever, is evil, you play it up and just say, this faction that's looking for this, they're evil. And that their whole intent is just to be evil and get the skull and do that. That's what you need to do, and you need to make it vicious in that sense, where Indy will just take him out, because that's what you have to do to get away and do these things. I don't know. I think that would be a better aspect to it. I don't know that I would keep going with the Crystal Skull. I would have liked to see maybe another Judeo-Christian artifact or something, maybe searching for Noah's Ark, maybe something like that. But if you're going to stick with the Crystal Skull aspect, honestly, I think it was a little too on the magic side. It was a little too, not magic, but the unexplained. Whereas everything else, it's kind of like, you can kind of like, okay, the old knight and things like that, with the Grail, and of course Kalima, and the Ark of the Covenant, but they still seem contained. They were MacGuffins. They weren't something that took over. By the end of it, it was like, yeah, this happened. Okay, it melted their faces, or this created a big disturbance and killed everybody. Or whatever it was still very humanized in those movies. This wasn't. This is too big. This is too all over the place. Even Dial of Destiny, I talked about it, where it's epic at the end. This whole thing is epic, but it's still not. It's still humanized through Indiana Jones. It's still humanized through everybody he's connecting with. And this, in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, it didn't. It made it too big. It made Indy feel small, and it just didn't work. So if you were going to do it, I think that it would probably be better. I think if you changed any one of those aspects of like Mutt, or even like making the villains worse, you could have been okay, or just like said, yeah, all right, I can accept the Crystal Skull thing. But it's just like, if you're going to keep it, make it more contained, make it more like they're going through this now, they got to get away from it. It is what it is. And also, they're getting away from it. It's just they got blown out of a well, whereas everything else, Indy had to kind of get out of it. He had to figure his way out of it. This wasn't a figure your way out of the moment. They treated Indy in this one as he's more just kind of haphazard. No, he's one of the smartest men in the room. That's the point. That's why all of these other archaeologists flock to him, not because he's an adventurer, because he's the guy. He's the guy who knows this stuff. And they did not treat him that way in this. There were flashes of it with him. He would figure out clues and things like that. But he is the guy who figures this stuff out. And he's the guy that accepts what he sees. That's why Temple of Doom takes place first. So I think if you were going to fix this movie, you need to fix that element where the MacGuffin is just still the MacGuffin. And at the end, it has an effect that maybe takes out the bad guy, which is completely fine, ultimately. But Indy figures his way out of it. He learned something by the end of Ark, and he learned something, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then he learned something by the end of Temple of Doom, and he learned something by the end of Last Crusade. He didn't learn anything by the end of Crystal Skull. By the end, it was just kind of like, I have a son, I'm getting married. I'm going to get married, not love her. So it took a lot out of it for me. But I think if you add those aspects, if you fix those aspects of it, you change the son up, make it more like Indy's father. You make the relationship more like that, where it drives Indy nuts because he's like still the adventurer. And now I have to deal with somebody like my father again, or somebody, something like that. And then when he finds out it's his son, flip the script again. Now he becomes more protective. He wants him to be like this. And now he's out of the shell and wants to do it. You make the villains more the bad guy, and you don't make the MacGuffin smarter than Indy. And I think that's how you would fix Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of Crystal Skull. I would love to hear what you guys think. And let me know in the comments if you're watching this or listening to this on Scene Snobs Podcast. Or if you're watching the clip that we have up on YouTube, really appreciate you doing that. But yeah, thank you guys so much. It's been a really fun episode talking about 4th of July. Hopefully you guys are having a good time with it. If you guys are interested, we are sponsored by Entertainment Earth. If you guys don't know what that is, you should go check them out. If you do collectibles, they have great fun stuff for you to go and, check out, be a part of, things like that. It's just a really fun time. We have a link down below that in our description that you can go to. You get 10% off. And if you spend over a certain amount of money, you get another 10% off and free shipping. So go check them out. We have other stuff too. Skillshare, Noom, BarkBox, things like that. We're affiliates, and we have some other affiliates happening and coming very soon as well. CBD, gummies, things like that. So if you guys are interested, please hit me up. Let me know, and I'll send you any of those links and more. I want to say thank you guys for watching. This means a lot to me. I always appreciate you guys being a part of this and joining in the conversation and things like that.